Everyone wants growth until growth requires grief. Someone I really admire posted that today. His name is Jesse Stanton, and it got me thinking about how life has been such a challenge at times, how the times in my life when I grew the most were the times when I felt the most grief. So a couple of years ago, our last two children became adults and decided to launch into the world and do their amazing things. One joined the military, the other went to school, and it was this time in my life where I had gone through a long season of raising children, and now I just didn't know what I was going to do with myself. And I looked at my husband and I thought, what am I going to do with just him? It's going to be just him and me in this house alone. And do I even like him? So we were going to dinner with some friends, and my husband got in my car and he starts digging around in the console for his snacks. And I started laughing at him and I said, we're going to dinner. You don't need to eat any snacks. And he's like, where are my snacks? And I said, I threw them away because you left them open and they got all gross. And he was like, you threw my snacks away? And I said, you are such a snacker that you even have snacks in my car. And then he started saying, you know what? I think I have the next $1 million idea. I think if I created car cookies, the people would buy them. And I laughed and I said, there's no way nobody's going to buy that. And then we got to dinner and he starts telling my friends about this new great invention that he has, that he's going to make car cookies. And our friends are laughing. And then he calls over the waitress and he says, hey, if I had this new invention called car cookies, would you buy them? And he explains all about snacks for the car, you know, for when you need something on the go. And she said, yeah, I think I'd probably buy those. On the way home, we were talking more about these car cookies. And he goes, I'm going to make an infomercial. And so he picks up his phone and he's like, oh, babe, I'm so hungry. I wish I had something to snack on. And I go, oh, I have something, babe. I have car cookies. We laughed and laughed and laughed doing the stupid infomercial, sent it to our friends that we'd had dinner with. They laughed and laughed and laughed, and they were like, oh, I kind of want car cookies now. And then at Christmas time, I had made this box. And the reason why this box is so funny to me and why it makes me think about how growth requires grief is that in that moment, I realized that I absolutely adore my husband. I absolutely love this relationship that we have together, and I have a lot of fun with him and we laugh and it's such a good time. And my children moving out was so hard. I cried and cried and cried about it, and I grieved the loss of being the mother of children at home and what am I going to do with my life, and how do I don't have to feed people anymore and keep them entertained and drive them all over the place, and I don't have to feed people anymore. I don't have to keep them entertained. I don't have to drive them all over the place. Once I realized what a wonderful thing that was, and how spending quality time with my husband was such a beautiful thing, and how I actually really, really enjoyed spending time with him, all of a sudden that grief was joy. Because, growth and change, it kind of have to happen. And my husband and I, we have never been as close as we are now today. We've never had such a beautiful relationship as we do now. And it took our children moving out of the house for us to get there, because when they were gone, all of a sudden it was just the two of us, and we had an opportunity to work on just us. And that was such a huge blessing. And it's interesting, but growth, it actually requires death. I had to have a change within myself. The death of the mom that is caring for little ones, to be able to become the growth of the woman that I am today, and the wife that I am, and the grandma that I am. And that was a good thing. You have to give up something to become something else when you're growing. And also, change sometimes equals pain. Watching my daughter join the military was terrifying and painful, because I knew she was never coming home. And she was going to be an adult and do her adult things. And she was one of the very youngest children that we had. And I knew that our son was going to, become the man that he is meant to be. And he may not come home and have dinner or come and visit us. And he may decide to live in another state. And our other children, we have an older son that is in the military, and he did not come home. He got married and has children, and they're getting ready to move again with the military. And change, sometimes it does become pain. But it's such a beautiful thing to see our children grow up and become the adults that they're meant to be, and be called into the purposes that they're meant to be a part of. And it's so beautiful to see them actually be the independent adults that we raised them to be, even though they're not here making noise and filling up my house and dirtying all my dishes. And lastly, if it's hurting, it's probably actually good for you. I don't know if you've ever read Ed Milet's book, One More, but he talks about how your body has like this internal thermostat that is a regulated temperature. So it goes, okay, we're staying at 70 degrees. We're not going anywhere. I want to stay right here at 70 degrees. And it's pre-programmed. So if you try to go 80 degrees or 60 degrees, it goes, no, we don't like it. We're coming back to 70 degrees. And, when we're trying to change, like for instance, I have decided I'm going to work out every single day, and I wake up in the morning and I kind of feel like I don't really want to do it today, but I already did. I've already committed and put it on social media, so now I have to do it. It's going to be a difficult process. And your body's going to be like, we don't like this. We don't want this change. But if it's hurting, it's probably really good for you. For me, I don't really want to go run today, but I'm going to go run today. I actually do want to run today, but I don't really want to run today. Have you ever felt that? But it's going to be really good for me, and so I'm going to do it. It's what I've committed to it, and I'm going to do it. And in the first 10 or 15 minutes of the run, I'm probably going to say to myself, this is really dumb. I don't know why I'm doing this. But when I get to the end of the run, I'm going to be like, I'm so glad. So your regulator, at first, it's not going to like it. Your thermostat, it's going to say, I don't really appreciate this. I don't know what you're doing, but let's get back to 70 degrees. But when you get to the end of it, it's going to be like, you know what? I kind of like this temperature a little bit better. Let's stay where we're at here. So if you are one of those people that are struggling with growth, that you have grief in your growth, I just want to encourage you today that grief, sometimes it's a sign of growing. So comment growing if this hits home with you today.